relationship when he passed away, so there was a lot of like unresolved conflict and like not any closure. So this was her like loved one's opportunity to seek closure. It was crazy. It was really crazy because some of the things that the medium says, like, I know that when you watch it on TV, you think, oh, they could just be guessing that, or they could be looking you up on, they could be Googling you or looking on your Facebook or whatever. But some of the things that she was saying, there's like no way that she could look that up. There's no way. So I was really like into everybody else's story, and people were getting read, and it was almost the end of the event, and I was like, oh great. And I remember her saying, like, taking some deep breaths and saying, like, if you want to connect with your loved one, like, just really try to call to them, like, get them to come forward. So I was thinking, like, I really want my grandmother to come forward. I was talking to her, and she said, there's a motherly figure coming forward, and she said something like, I keep seeing a rainbow in a box. There's like a rainbow in a box, and a motherly figure is coming forward. And I immediately got the chills and was like, I know that this is my grandmother. But I like sat back for a minute, and another lady came forward too and was like, I think this might be for me. And so I was like, okay, then it must not be for me. But she started going down the path with this lady and asking her questions, and they started talking, and she was like, no, this isn't for you. And nobody else was speaking up. And so I raised my hand. I was like, I think it might be my grandmother. And the reason why I thought that initially was because a couple weeks before that, I was at my parents' house, and I was looking through a box of old stuff. And I remember looking through, and it was like all stuff from when I was a child. And it was all like stuff from school, like ribbons from like art contests and photos from school. And all of a sudden in the pile was this picture of my grandmother's grave. And I know this is so weird, but when she passed away, we lived a little bit far away from her grave, so I couldn't really go and visit it very often. So I asked my dad one time, he went to go and visit, I asked him to bring my, oh my gosh, what's it called? My camera that had, like, Polaroid film. And so I asked him to bring my Polaroid camera with him to take a picture because I missed her. So he brought my camera, and he took a picture of the grave for me. But he didn't realize that I had this Barbie Polaroid film in the camera. So it's a picture of her grave with like all of these colors around the sides because it's a Barbie themed Polaroid box that I put in. And I remember when I was sitting in my room looking through this pile, and knowing that I was going to the medium in a couple weeks, I was like, I need to remember this. For some reason, I just kept thinking, I need to remember this. That I found this randomly in this pile. And I know that I've been thinking of her, and I'm going to the medium soon. you're supposed to be. And she asked me if I was with somebody, and I said yes. And she was like, your grandmother wants to give you validation that this person is the person that you're supposed to be with, and she approves of them, and she wants you to be happy, and they're the right person for you. And that's my now husband, and I agree with all of that. But I didn't know at the time that whether or not we were supposed to be together, because we were in a long distance relationship, and I did not know how that was gonna work. And I asked her, I was talking to her about my job, and I was like, but I don't know if I should go back. I really liked my old job. And she said that no, you're not supposed to go back. This is where you're supposed to be. Like, this is all happening the way it's supposed to, and your grandmother is there to guide you and is there with you. And that just gave me so much comfort in knowing that everything, I felt like it was happening for a reason. But to hear that, it really made me feel better and took away some of the worries. And then she said something about, she was talking to me about, is your sister getting married? Or is your sister with somebody? Is your sister getting married? And I was like, no, absolutely not. She's like, I keep seeing, I forget what she said. She was like, I keep seeing something in a year or two. I forget, but she's like, I just see that your sister is going to get married and find someone or something. And I was like, alright, whatever. I don't know about that, because at the time she wasn't dating anybody, so I didn't think she was gonna get married, but like, you never know. So